I'm just like wrapped up in my magical blanket. What the hell? Hello, how are you? I hope you're good. Apparently I'm in a very talkative mood, so I apologize in advance. I am coming to you on my lunch break. I am so behind on schedule for what I wanted to put out up to this point, and I'm just very behind the schedule because you might know, because I moan everywhere on every platform, that I was ill during the break and I had a couple of days that I wanted to film on, but I hadn't because obviously ill. I am feeling much better, but if I sound like, you know, congested and what, is because I am. But I thought I will sit down with you, cozy it up. I'm absolutely bloody freezing. I thought I'll come on and speak about things that I have read and seen in the month of December. This is the last video I think that's gonna have to do with 2018, and I'd like to, you know, move on. So I have read 4 volumes of comics and 4 books. First thing that I have finished in December was actually no, wait. Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. Yeah, apparently I've only finished this on like the 7th of December. December has been such a weird month for me. I feel like time all at once flew and also just like stagnated. I don't know. Anyway, I finished Muse of Nightmares. This book took longer than I expected it would because this one was my most anticipated read of 2018, and for those asking what book I'm most anticipated in 2019, the answer is there aren't any. I am a person that really does not anticipate things strongly unless it's a very rare case. So there's a lot of books that I'm like, kind of like, you know, that'd be cool if that came out and I'll probably get it, but for me to like anticipate book, that happens really rarely, so it's usually like 1 per year. I have not yet found my 2019 anticipated read, so once I do I'll let you know, but that is why I didn't have that video of anticipated releases. So yeah, Muse of Nightmares was my most anticipated release of 2018 and the only anticipated release of 2019. 18. Oh my god, this is gonna be an issue. And so I thought I'm gonna eat it up as soon as it came out, but because of all of the things that I had to do around it, this has been read through like a month and a half, 2 months maybe, which was surprising. I maybe wish that I didn't have so many things interrupting my reading of this, but I'm still getting into grips of everything because my schedule has changed quite a bit this year. So, regardless, this is the second book in the second and final book actually in the Strange the Dreamer series, which is one of my favorite, and this one did not disappoint. I will say that if you are expecting something faster than Strange the Dreamer, because obviously like first books are known to be sometimes a little bit slower, especially in high fantasy, so you get to know everything. This one I would say has the same structure, fairly slow paced, and then a lot of stuff happening in the end. So if you really don't, if that kind of grinds on your nerves and if you were maybe expecting something to change in the second one, it doesn't. But as you know, I absolutely adored Strange the Dreamer, so it didn't bother me. I really like the way it wrapped up. Strange the Dreamer is a story about an orphaned librarian who believes in these myths that no one else does, and this lore about a city that has lost its name, and people believed that it was just a bunch of nonsense for children, but it appears that indeed it is not, and we are following our main character Laszlo Strange, as I mentioned, and a couple of other people that get picked up to go and help this city. I really don't like summarizing these books because I will never give it justice without spoiling anything. So all I'm gonna say is these books are about a lot of human emotions. I think Laini Taylor has by far one of my favorite writing styles. Every sentence is like a little gem and it just feels like eating a dessert. Like when you read this book, it's just an experience that I wish upon every reader. So it is rich but not overwhelming. Both of these were my favorite books of the year, so you know. Enough said. So obviously that one got 5 out of 5 stars, and the second book that I read was Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. This one was a joy as well. It got 4 stars. That being said, 5 stars in my books is a very rare thing, so 4 stars is definitely good. This is a sci-fi about a girl who has grown up in a society on this colony where she is known as a daughter of a coward, and the word coward basically shapes her whole life, and she really is resisting it and becomes very defensive, and in that defensiveness she comes across as a very strong, hot-tempered person. Definitely ridiculous at times, but very understandably so. This is not the main character that you're supposed to really love from the very beginning. Sometimes she can be very unlikable, but I think it's rationalized in a way and set up in a way that you completely understand where she's coming from. Her whole goal is to become a pilot, which is a very prestige career in their setting, and a pilot was also who her father was, and she wants to discover what exactly happened on that day that her father has died and was named a coward, because she does not believe that he was. And it is about her getting into this flying academy and trying to discover that while discovering herself and whatnot. I think the strengths of this was definitely the plot and the pace of the plot. It for sure kept me reading, and I went into late hours with this book, and if that happens in a book, it really makes me excited, because sometimes even if the book is not the best, maybe it's like 3 stars, but it keeps me reading, that means so much to me. Like, it doesn't have to be a masterpiece, but if it keeps me reading, keeps me excited, keeps me wanting to get back to the book and open it up instead of going on Netflix or on YouTube or doing something else, that is a major thing for me. As a book reader, I just really enjoy it, and this one was definitely like that. I wanted to know what's happening, and I think one of the things that really makes me come back is humor, and this was definitely humorous and very entertaining. And I think with school settings as well, even though this is like an academy, like a pilot academy, you know, it's just something that I generally usually enjoy if it's done well. And this was also a book that no one is safe, so there are definitely deaths and casualties in this, so no one's safe, and that really adds to my experience, because I hate when authors keep the characters really safe, pretend that they're in danger, because if I know that the author is very likely to save everyone and everyone's going to be okay, then I don't actually sit at the edge of my seat, you know. I don't like, it doesn't make me turn the page, because eventually I know everything's gonna be alright, and I despise that. It's one of my least favorite things about some books, because I want to know that there are real consequences to real actions, and that not everyone's bulletproof like in a Hollywood thriller movie. So this was definitely very good in that aspect. As I said, there are some aspects in this book, however, that I felt were really not explored or not explained. That being said, this is the first one in a series. However, I think every book should stand on its own, no matter if they're a series or not. Because at the end of the day, you pay for this book, you own this book, and this book is supposed to, like, you know, let you know what's up. I'm not talking about cliffhangers or anything, but within the book there were things that didn't completely make sense to me or didn't seem to fit in the story, and this is a sci-fi, but I felt like there were some fantasy elements that just really didn't tickle me the right way. But I'm hoping there's gonna be an explanation later on. I'll definitely read the one that comes out in 2019, so I am anticipating that one, but it's not like my most anticipated thing. It was a very fun read, and I definitely recommend this to people who are not necessarily very friendly with sci-fi or haven't had a lot of sci-fi experience. It is very easy to follow. Grab this one if you want to explore the genre. I think it's a very good place to start. 15 years later, this is gonna be probably a long video, but that's okay, because those are like my main review-ish videos, so I hope you guys don't mind me blabbering on about, but like, this is where I speak about the books that I read, you know, so hopefully it's fine. Anyway, the next thing that I read was The Cruel Prince. This was my finished coursework prompt for the Magical Readathon, that I basically didn't read any until the readathon actually started, but that's okay. This was an interesting one. So for the first 80 pages, I really did not like this book. Now, I know this has a lot of mixed reviews, so I went in with it cautiously optimistic, but also expecting a lot of cruel things, because I thought that was the whole drama about it, that it is very triggering, which I definitely agree. It's definitely not for everyone. If you do not like reading about bullying or emotional and physical bullying, pretty much is the main thing there, definitely don't recommend it. However, in my opinion, not every book has to like teach you things. Not every book, if it includes cruelty or some type of behavior that is not really positive, that doesn't mean that the book and the author is actually saying, oh, you should be like that. You should definitely have a teachable moment from this, which you can still, like, as in don't do it. I think we have this standard for YA fantasy that is really bizarre, because when you think about it, if you apply that to a thriller or some sort of book that includes or is from a serial killer's perspective, like, you wouldn't have the same standard, right? You wouldn't be like, oh, but this is so problematic because it has this and that. Like, and I understand, obviously, there usually is some sort of like teachable moment, which I still think this has. How did I end up in this point? Yeah, I feel like we need to relax with this, because as a community, sometimes we moan about every YA book being the same, but then as soon as someone breaks away from the template of, you know, this girl that came into the kingdom from poverty and became a queen, and it's all very PG and happy and, you know, poor to rich, helpless to hopeful, you know, as soon as someone breaks out from that, I feel like there's almost always some sort of controversy. Just be a bit more careful with that as consumers, as readers, as reviewers, that just because something isn't as we usually see it doesn't mean that it's not good, or doesn't mean that it's not entertaining or unique, you know? So anyway, this book started really weak for me. I did not like the writing style. Well, actually, the first chapter I was very intrigued because it's like a flashbacky thing. This is about a family that gets visited by this fey creature, and the fey creature actually murders their parents and takes the girl to the Feyland and actually raises them. It's a very interesting character, actually, the father figure, because from that point onwards, he's an absolute brilliant father, sort of. But obviously he murdered the family, but the Fae in this book are very much cruel by nature, so it's not like nature nurture thing. It's definitely just like a lot of nature happening in the Fae land, so there's a different perspective on things. I'll say that. Our main character, who is a twin in the family, so she has a twin sister and a older sister. So the twin girls are actually full-on human, however the older sister is his daughter, so they're sort of like stepdaughters to this guy that is raising them now. And in a cruel world, that is a very easy target to be made of when you're in a Fae world, surrounded by Fae, and you're different. And so she makes, and she's really sick and tired of being a target, and she really is not a person who takes being weak well, so she makes some not the most rational decisions and makes some enemies. It turns from this like very petty, boring high school setting, because it stars in a high school, and that's why those 80 pages I really did not like. And then she gets into the more political business of things and gets involved with these different kind of people with different motives, and it does turn quite political, and it does turn much darker, which is what I went in here for. I wanted cruel things, so you're definitely warned there that this is gonna be quite cruel. Yeah, it turns quite more political, and there were a couple plot twist that I really enjoyed. One took me by surprise, which is very, very rare, because I have this very annoying habit of guessing things. I got quite good at that because like I do it often, and the end was so nice. It was so bittersweet. Like, we got what we wanted, but at the same time it was just like, oh no. And I love that. That is what happened in Thunderhead at one point, and I just love it. I love that feeling of like getting what you want, but feeling like that is not okay, like something's not okay, you know? I love that. I love when people do that. It's one of my favorite things in books. The writing style, I will say, is not the strongest, I don't think. And the idea and the refreshing cruelness, I want to say, it's not like the most cruel book out there, but I am quite excited about the second one. that is coming out literally in a couple of days, so that is exciting. And it actually did scrape 4 stars. It was very low 4 stars, but it did scrape it and I did enjoy it. So if you're wanting to see something like this, that's that. Okay, then the next thing from the readathon as well. Oh, the Fight with the Weasleys, which is supposed to be like a fun book. Or giggle worthy, and I chose saga number 9. Now, a lot of you guys then said that I shouldn't have because this is gonna break me. It's not funny at all. Well, not like not funny at all, but this is not a fun thing, which saga usually is. It's usually fun with some tragedy. I think it was still fairly funny for the most part because they have this, you know, thing going on for them. I think I'm falling out in love with saga again. I think it's been going on like on and off for a while. I enjoy it while I read it, but I think because, and this is gonna sound kind of horrible, but I think because of the main character, sort of the main character now, or everything is from the daughter's perspective, and that's like a toddler, it really grinds on me. I don't like it. The sentences, I suppose, is supposed to be like sort of like cute and like adorable but edgy, and saga sometimes comes across to me like trying a little bit too hard, which was the whole reason why I didn't like Paper Girls, and Paper Girls is such a hit with a lot of people, and to me it was just a cringe fest. I thought it was trying way too hard to be like this edgy, don't care, look at all this random stuff, and I think that saga is going in a very similar way, which obviously makes sense because it's from the same person that writes them. Very shocked by what happens at the very end. I personally am just happy things are happening finally because we're at volume 9. I've been with saga and been waiting for sagas to come out for like a lot of years now. What I do love is Fiona Staples' style. I love that. The art style is so beautiful. I just sort of start feeling that it's rinse and repeat a little bit. So while I still enjoy it, I wouldn't say it's my favorite thing anymore. And I gave this one 3 out of 5 because still enjoyed it while I read it. It's just like overall as a series to me it's like eh. And then I finished Harry Potter and Philosopher's Stones. I do not have to talk about this. I think it's pretty, you know, I don't need to talk about it. So I'm just gonna mention that I finished that and put it aside. Watched the first movie as well for it, and it was great. Then I have Descender, which I think, well, this is volume 2. I think this might be my favorite comic at the moment. I am just like so in love with the story. It's very much stereotypical, like big metal guys. This is like a sci-fi, so it's like big metal guys come in and destroy a lot of things, and then you don't know why and trying to figure out like many years in the future or something like that. But the story of this little boy that was designed to be a best friend to children at home. Like, see, this is a very different kind of toddler being the main character. It's also like a robot, so it's much smarter. It's just such a joy to read. I love, you know, I'm like intrigued, I'm happy. The art style is very unusual, I want to say. It's very much drawn, and it's not my favorite usually, but I love it. I want to get the 3rd one soon. I think it's out. I'm fairly certain it's out. Love it. Yeah, I gave it 5 stars. I just really enjoy it. It's just very sweet. The way that it makes you connect to the character and things around it. There's like a robot dog as well. It's sweet, okay? And then the last 2 things that I finished was actually also something that made me finish the series of this, which I'm very happy about because I still managed to do that in 2018, which was one of my goals, so that's good. But that is the Lock and Key series, so I read both volumes 5 and 6. 5 was part of the readathon, so Descender was, oh god. Descender was as well. So Descender was for the 3 broomsticks one, for something that will take you a day to read, and then Harry Potter was for sneaking into the forbidden section in the library, but before that it was Lock and Key, number 5 for Yule Ball, something you were preparing yourself for. So why I was preparing myself for this was volume 4 left on an annoying point of the plot where basically things just go wrong, and I was like, I hate that. Sometimes I hate it. It's kind of tiny bit stressful for me when things just go wrong, and you know it's gonna all get fixed at the end, but it was just like volume 4 ended and on a note that I'm just like, I need a break. So I took a break I came back, I read volume 5, and it was so intriguing that I had to finish the series with volume 6, so I read them both. They're actually quite like massive for volumes. I really enjoyed these two. These two I think were maybe my favorite out of the series. Yeah, volume 5 I gave 4 stars and volume 6 I gave 5 because it was a really nice conclusion to the series, to be fair. I really liked it. Like, the way it ended was good. The whole series is about a family that suffer a tragedy and move into the family mansion where they discover that there are keys that only pre-adult people can recognize, and all hell get loose. Because I think this is like supposed to be like a horror thing. It's definitely supernatural. It's very dark. It's not for kids, you know. I would definitely recommend it to you if you like things from Joe Hill, who is the son of Stephen King, or if you just want to have a comic series that is a little bit darker and mysterious. If you're looking for something like that and you want to have a series that is also actually finished. Sometimes it's kind of annoying to start reading a comic and then you have to wait for like Saga. I think I would probably enjoy Saga way more if I was reading it when everything was out, so I could just like binge it. But yeah, anyway, those are the last things that I read. Now I'm gonna go try and go fairly quickly through the things that I watched, because this is probably gonna already be very long. So anyway, I have watched a lot of things in December, actually. A lot of things. I don't know when I had the time to watch them, but apparently I did. Passengers. And Passengers is a sci-fi movie. It's basically about this ship where people have gone into hibernation. Is that how... There's a word for it, but I can't remember now. They're basically put into these pods that they're supposed to be like preserved and only woken up when they reach this other planet that they're gonna spend the rest of their lives in, because it's like a livable planet. But obviously it takes like 180 years or something like that to get there. But the ship actually gets hit a little bit and some systems malfunction, and before they start repairing themselves, one of the pods of our main character wakes them up. 90 years too early, and there's no one on the ship. Well, there's people on the ship, but they're all obviously in their pods and not aware and not awake. We follow this guy going slowly but surely a little bit crazy. I'm not gonna say that this was like a brilliant movie, but it was interesting and it had some interesting concepts that would make you think, what would I do in that situation? And it was a fun little watch. So it's on Netflix if you want to give it a go. Then I watched The Dumpling. I think it was after a day that I was very tired and I knew I'm just not gonna do anything productive. So I was like, I'm just gonna put something on super light on Netflix, and it was like in the new things on Netflix. And Dumpling is inspired by a YA book. I haven't read the book. The book might be great. The movie, I think the idea of it was sweet. I always dislike these I don't know. Obviously, it feels, and it is probably, targeted at a younger audience. But that being said, I really don't like using that as an excuse for me not enjoying something, because I can enjoy children's movies, okay? If it's done well. I also love cartoons, you know. I don't think that that should be like a free out of jail card. So I just really thought it was very bad. Like, the movie was so bad. I think the only reason why I finished that movie was because I was lying on my sofa a bit too tired to stand up and switch to something else. So I watched it, but I really didn't like it. It didn't feel encouraging or empowering at all. I don't know, you know what, it was just not for me. But I am always a little bit like on the unpopular side of these movies that come out, like everyone is loving The Dumpling and everyone is loving To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and to me they just, like, I can watch it. To All the Boys I Loved Before, like, I watched it, I wouldn't say that it's a masterpiece, and everyone's like rewatching it like a million of times, and I don't know, guys, am I missing something? Am I the only one that is just sort of like, you know, maybe it's just not my thing, you know? But sometimes I really love a good like rom-com type of situation. I really enjoy just switching off for that, and it's fun. It did not hit the spot for me, that one. Let me know what you think if you watched that one. What did hit the spot, like big time, one of my favorite movies, I think, because it just has the themes that I love, and that was Arrival. I do not know how I have missed this movie until now. It just slid past my radar. I absolutely adored it. Arrival is about these ships that land on Earth and a lecture being taken by the army to, well, the military people, to try and make communications with these people or like things that landed on Earth, because she is a very well-known like expert of linguistics. I really don't want to say anything else because it's a big like reveal type of moment at the end there, but it has the themes that I love. It had I loved it so much. And then at the end of it, there, you know, when the credits come up, based on a novella, and I never grabbed my phone faster in my life. I was just like ordering now. Like, I loved it so much. And I got that book, and it's like shorts, like a collection of short stories. I'm not a massive fan of short stories. I much prefer books, but boy, I'm so excited for that one in particular. Like, I am so hyped. So if you have similar taste to me, I recommend this movie so much. I loved it. I loved it a lot. Then I watched a little documentary on Netflix that is called The Hollywood Meme. It's all about the celebrities and the social media life and whatnot. It was a thing that I put on while I was straightening my hair, and I watched it, and it was okay. There's not much that I can say about it that, I don't know, it was alright. I don't regret watching it. I don't feel like my life has changed by watching it, but you know, it was an interesting look at it if you fancy looking at that. The next movie that me and Logan watched was, in theory, I thought it's gonna be so good, and I think the idea was really good, and it was called, it is called What Happened to Monday. This is about a society that has a no sibling rule, like very strict no sibling rule, and if there is a sibling, they take it away and put it into basically storage until the Earth is populated enough to bring them back to live their lives. But there's only one sibling, and the mother of our main characters has given birth to 7 children at once, and instead of, you know, registering them, they just, like, the mother has died during birth, but the grandfather keeps them all and tries to hide their identity, and because there's 7 of them, he basically names them by the day of the week and then teaches them to act as this one girl, one person, and Monday would go out on Monday, you know, Wednesday would go out on Wednesday to the outside world, because they only have like this one bracelet for this one person. And they would swap places, but obviously, because it's more fun like that, they have like the absolute different, radically different personalities, so we would know which one's which one pretty much. The whole thing is like why the Earth was overpopulated was because they started eating a lot of genetically modified food, and me and Logan were like, oh no, this is not going great places. I felt like it had real good potential. It was a little bit like, sounded a little bit like Orphan Black, which was a show that I really enjoyed up until like the last season, but it was just so weirdly done. It almost felt like possibly an independent movie that didn't quite go right, like something was like really off. There were a couple of bits that were kind of funny or like unusual, and there was some gory bits that like I, you know, flinched and looked away, but overall it was just such an awkward, weird thing. Like, you were very aware of what they were wanting you to feel, but you didn't feel it, you know? It was a really weakly done movie with a good idea. Then the next things that I watched were 2 Shrek movies on the Christmas day, and then the 3rd and the 4th the following week. We went Shrek heavy, and we actually have never seen the 4th one. The 3rd movie is definitely the weakest one in our opinion, and the 4th one really surprised us because after watching the 3rd one, we really were expecting it to be like really low standard, you know, we weren't expecting much, and we really liked it. So, you know, Shrek is life, guys. Shrek is a meme, and Shrek is its own thing. I cannot rate it. It's Shrek, you know, so we watched Shrek. And I think the last thing that I watched was The Hunt of the Wilder People. This is a New Zealand type of movie with New Zealand actors, and it's filmed in New Zealand with a very much New Zealand humor, I think. Unique. But we had a really good time with it. It's not a Hollywoody type of movie, so if you enjoy like a little bit of a silly New Zealand type of thing, with some like interesting, heart-touching and heartwarming themes as well, then definitely would recommend that. It's about a boy that lives in foster care and then is sent to this place that finally feels like home, but he didn't really get on that well with this really reserved guy, the male of the family. And then unfortunately the woman passes away and they're left with each other. It's a good time. Okay, so that is everything that I've watched. Wow, this is gonna be like an hour-long video. Now I'm just very quickly gonna mention a couple of things that I'm reading. So for our book in a jar book club, we are reading Renegades by Marissa Meyer. This is a superhero book. I am currently like 54 pages in, and this feels very much like a X-Men kind of thing. So if you enjoy X-Men, I mean, I'm not far in, but that's how it sort of feels like. The Goodreads group is always linked down below for you guys to speak with each other while you read. It's selected in like sections, so you can speak as you read. And then also there's a live stream that should be on the, I want to say 2nd of February, if I'm not mistaken. And for our quarterly book club, the live stream is on the 26th of January, I think. I'm very bad with these days. I'm reading this on a Kindle, and that is Wake of Vultures. It's actually a Western supernatural novel, which is very, very unusual. At least something that I haven't read before. This is following a sort of like adopted girl in the setting where she is really struggling because where both being a girl and a darker color is very disadvantageous for you. So, but it's also supernatural, which is a very interesting take on it. I think I'm like 74 pages in. It's definitely not for everyone. I can see this book being very interesting to a lot of people, but I'm gonna keep my thoughts for the live stream. And that is everything. I think I'm gonna stop here. My throat's like feeling all weird again, so it's about time that I shut up and let you guys speak in the comments. So please let me know your thoughts on any of the things that I mentioned, movies, books, or whatnot, and what was the best thing that you've read in December. Do you have a most anticipated thing in 2019? Because sometimes maybe I'm just not aware that something's coming out, and maybe you'll be like, oh my god, yes, now I have my most anticipated read. Leave the comments down below. I really do read all of them, even though sometimes I'm a little bit rubbish at replying at all of them. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Stay awesome, stay kind, and I'll see you next time. Bye!